A passenger of a cruise ship that was struck by an outbreak of hantavirus has shown symptoms of the disease while being repatriated to France. The country's prime minister has said Sébastien Lecornu said the French national developed symptoms while on a chartered flight from Tenerife to Paris, and so all 5 evacuated from the MV Hondius had been immediately placed in strict isolation until further notice.
And Mohammed Assassa had only just returned home after burying his 80-year-old father Hussein when several children ran into the house shouting, "The settlers are digging up the grave." In the small village of Assassa near Jenin in the West Bank, from which the family patriarch took his name, Hussein had been a highly regarded figure before his death last Friday from natural causes. And prominent Jewish American leader and Israel defender Abraham A. Foxman has died at age 86. The Anti-Defamation League, the advocacy group he led for 28 years, confirmed his death on Sunday, calling him an outspoken, passionate and tireless advocate for the Jewish people and Israel.
Fictional portrayals of artificial intelligence can have a real effect on AI models, according to Anthropic. Last year, the company said that during pre-release tests involving a fictional company, Claude before would often try to blackmail engineers to avoid being replaced by another system. Anthropic later published research suggesting that models from other companies had similar issues with agentic misalignment. Arsenal cleared arguably the most dangerous remaining obstacle in their path to the Premier League title by the skin of their teeth as Leandro Trossard's late goal secured a dramatic 1-0 win at West Ham United to restore their 5-point lead on Sunday. The visitors were living dangerously at the London Stadium, but Trossard guided home a low shot from Martin Odegaard's pass in the 83rd minute to spark delirium amongst the Arsenal fans and despair in the home ranks. Since around 8 a.m. this morning, the little boat ferrying passengers from the MV Hondius to shore has been shuttling back and forth. The 100 or so journalists parked not far from the port of Granadilla have watched a steady and carefully coordinated ballet as the boat transports 5 passengers at a time to the port that has finally agreed to take them in. This followed 5 weeks at sea and nearly 10 days of uncertainty and fear since the Andes strain of the hantavirus was identified on board the ship.
The Lebanese Health Ministry says Israeli attacks in the past 24 hours have killed 51 people, including 2 medical workers. The Israeli enemy continues to violate international laws and humanitarian norms, adding more crimes against paramedics as it directly targeted 2 points of the health authority in Kalawiya and Tibnin, Bint Jbeil district in 2 raids, the ministry said. Volunteers at Al-Shifa Hospital cleared rubble and planted olive trees in the courtyard as a symbol of hope where more than 500 bodies were recovered from mass graves. Once Gaza's largest medical complex, Al-Shifa was devastated by repeated Israeli attacks and sieges during Israel's genocidal war on Gaza.
And President Donald Trump has warned that the United States will target any Iranian trying to reach the country's highly enriched uranium, saying that the nuclear material is under constant surveillance by the US military. In an interview with the syndicated TV show Full Measure that aired on Sunday, Trump appeared to play down the significance of the uranium, which is believed to be buried under the rubble of nuclear facilities, remaining in Iran for now.
For years, Uber talked about becoming a super app. Then Waymo started picking up passengers in San Francisco, and the conversation grew more urgent. The company has been trying to embed itself inside the AV industry as a data provider, an investor and a distribution platform, but the consumer-facing bet may be just as important. 2 weeks ago, Uber held its annual Go Get product event in New York and announced something its executives had been circling for a long time. Users in the US can now book hotels inside the Uber app through a partnership with Expedia Group, with access to more than 700,000 properties worldwide. Uber One members, the company's subscription tier at $9.99 a month, get 20% off a rotating list of 10,000 hotels and 10% back in credits. Vacations rentals through Vrbo will follow later this year, along with restaurant reservations via OpenTable. In the meantime, a Shop for Me feature lets users order from stores that aren't even on the platform.
Indian film star C. Joseph J. was sworn in as Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu state on Sunday after his new party brokered a coalition in the southern industrial hub. The swearing-in ceremony followed days of high drama in the state capital Chennai, where VJ's fledgling Tamilaga Vetri Kazhagam TVK party initially struggled to secure support from smaller parties after state elections. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday urged the people to cut down on petrol and diesel consumption amid supply disruptions due to the Middle East war. India is one of the few countries in the region that has not increased the prices of petrol and diesel for domestic consumers or ration supplies.
Demonstrators gathered at Clifton's Beach View Park on Sunday for the annual Aurat March in Karachi, shadowed by the arrests of women's rights activists on Tuesday and only permitted under restrictions on what can be said, brought and worn. The event attracted a crowd of a few hundred people at the venue. Despite the restrictions, many important subjects of women's rights were highlighted, including the right to bodily autonomy. The march's now signature slogan, Mera Jism, Meri Marzi, My Body, My Choice, Cass was raised loudly, proudly and frequently, freedom of movement and marital rape.
And Tehran, Iran's skyrocketing inflation is jeopardizing food security among households in conflict. Hit Iran, new figures show, as diplomatic efforts to end the war launched by the United States and Israel intensify. The people must realistically understand the conditions and restrictions of the country. President Masoud Pezeshkian told a group of officials who gathered on Sunday to discuss rebuilding structures damaged or destroyed in US and Israeli attacks.
Mehdi Hassan Miraz claimed 5 wickets to give Bangladesh a slender lead after Pakistan debutant Azanawais hit 103 on a rain-hit third day of the first test on Sunday. Pakistan made 306 all out in response to Bangladesh's first innings, total of 413 in Dhaka.
And Al Jazeera's Al-Migdad El-Rahid reports from Tehran that Iran has sent its response to a US proposal to end the war via mediator Pakistan, according to state news agency IRNA. Tehran has been saying negotiations should focus on ending hostilities, securing guarantees against future attacks, and reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Vladimir Putin has signalled that his country's war with Ukraine may be coming to an end, as the Russian president again blamed the West for prolonging the fighting through military support to Kyiv. Speaking after Victory Day events in Moscow, Putin said on Sunday that he was ready to hold direct talks with his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, in Moscow or a neutral country.
At least 3 people have been killed in Russian attacks on Ukraine in the past 24 hours, despite a 3-day ceasefire announced by US President Donald Trump that came into effect on May 9. Regional authorities on Sunday reported 1 death each in Ukraine's Zaporizhia, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kherson regions. Anthropic and xAI announced a big partnership this week, with Anthropic buying all the compute capacity at xAI's Colossus One data center in Tennessee. On the latest episode of TechCrunch's Equity podcast, Kirsten Korosek, Sean O'Kane, and I discussed what the deal might mean for xAI's parent company SpaceX, as SpaceX prepares to go public and apparently plans to dissolve xAI as a separate organization.
And welcome back to TechCrunch Mobility, your hub for the future of transportation, and now more than ever, how AI is playing a part. To get this in your inbox, sign up here for free. Just click TechCrunch Mobility. After years of hints and preparation, the Uber-backed electric bike and scooter rental startup Lime filed for an initial public offering, a micro-mobility company going public in 2026. Surely it's the wrong year.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif confirmed on Sunday that Pakistan had received Iran's response to a US proposal to end the war in the region. Speaking at a ceremony held in Islamabad to commemorate Marka-i-Haq, the Premier mentioned Pakistan's efforts for de-escalation between the US and Iran, stating that Chief of Defence Forces and Chief of the Army Staff Field Marshal Azim Munir had informed him a while ago that Pakistan has received Iran's response.
Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Governor Faisal Karim Kundi, in a meeting with PTI leaders on Sunday at Governor House KP, discussed the province's constitutional and economic rights, stressing on the need to present a firm case before the federal government to ensure justice and fair treatment. In a social media post on X, Governor Kundi said that PTI leaders, including former National Assembly Speaker Asad Kaiser, MNA Junaid Akbar and other parliamentarians, called on him for a constructive exchange on the pressing issues of KP.
And Mehdi Hassan Miraz claimed 5 wickets to give Bangladesh a slender lead after Pakistan debutant Azana Wise hit 103 on a rain-hit third day of the first test on Sunday. Pakistan made 386 all out in response to Bangladesh's first innings total of 413 in Dhaka.
It is often described as Africa's biggest night in film and fashion. Celebrities, filmmakers and creators arrived at the 12th edition of the Africa Magic Viewers' Choice Awards, AMVCA, in Nigeria with dramatic trains, sculptural gowns, shimmering fabrics and heavily theatrical designs that once again transformed the event from an awards show into a spectacle of style.
And over cold drinks in the Florida heat, this TechCrunch reporter watched from the paddock as founders and investors, the rich and the richer, mingled in search of deals. Conversations barely paused and, except for the occasional glance at the track where drivers sealed inside multi-million-dollar machines chased the checkered flag, F1 weekend is a 3-day affair, with the race as the finale. In between are kickoffs, soirees and cocktail parties, dinners and nightclub takeovers, spaces where business and pleasure blur. Events like this, where wealth concentrates, have historically been places where business deals are struck. But the popularity of the F1 paddock has grown in recent years, especially among the startup and venture crowd.
Punjab Chief Minister Mariam Nawaz has inaugurated Marka-i-Haq Square at Rawalpindi's Kachari Chowk, formally opening the major signal-free corridor project for the public. The well-known Kachari Chowk has officially been renamed Marka-i-Haq Square. The project was built to ease traffic pressure at one of Rawalpindi's busiest junctions.
Traffic police on Sunday launched a citywide crackdown against underage and unlicensed drivers, announcing strict action against violators of traffic regulations. Chief Traffic Officer, CTO, Syed Abdul Rahim Shirazi, said vehicles and motorcycles being driven by underage motorists would be impounded and shifted to police stations in addition to issuance of chalons. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif recalled the historic response of Pakistan to India during Marka-i-Haq on Sunday as he addressed a ceremony held at the Pakistan Monument in Islamabad to commemorate the episode of conflict. The conflict with India, starting from the April 22 Pahalgam attack to the end of Operation Bunyan and Mahsus with a ceasefire between the two countries on May 10, has been called Marka-i-Haq Battle of Truth by the state. Iran has sent its response to a US proposal to end the war in the region via Pakistan, Iranian state media reported on Sunday. The Islamic Republic of Iran sent today through Pakistani mediators its response to the latest text proposed by the United States to end the war. The official IANA news agency said, Iran has warned its Gulf neighbours that complying with US sanctions would lead to their ships face difficulties crossing the Strait of Hormuz. Military spokesman Mohammad Akramenia said vessels passing on through the vital trade route would face severe consequences if they did not cooperate with Tehran first, Iran's state-run news agency INA reported.